Good morning, dear students. In our third class of studying anatomy together, we will give a brief description of the bones forming our skeletal system. In second class, we have said that we are going to start with the bone markings today. But beforehand, some of the very important facts regarding bone, its classification, distribution, and specifically the names, you must have to learn. And as it's some way already learned by you in your previous year's classes up till the higher secondary, so that will be helpful for you to correlate with the present one. So I have to add this on the continuous series. And in the third presentation, we will continue with the skeletal system. Whenever you start learning a new chapter, a new topic, always please revise your previous one. So that will help you to once more repeat your old study, and all the old studies are in correlation with the present one. That is in continuation. One is related to other. So definitely that will help you to recapitulate your old studies that you have already done, to correlate and to link it with the present one. So the present one will be much more acceptable to you and you can remember it easily. So a little recap of our second class. Recap in your own mind. In the second class, we have studied about the anatomical position, the different other positions such as prone positions, supine position, right and left lateral position, and even in dissection of the perineum, you will know the lithotomy position as different requirement of our dissection classes. And the planes through which the dissection is approached to the cadavers are the anatomical planes. We have said in details in our second presentation. We have named some anatomical terms that we will use very frequently when studying individual bones, such as anterior or ventral. On the other side, opposite of that is posterior or dorsal. Superior rostral cranial, opposite inferior or caudal. Median, the single plane lies over your body onto straight away the middle. Medial and lateral, depending on how close any structure is towards the median plane and away from it. Proximal and distal, ipsilateral or homolateral and contralateral, deep superficial, interior and exterior, invagination and evagination. All these terms, how it is used, what are the meanings, what are their origin, is all been said in our previous lecture. Now, we will study today, or will directly enter in the study of the osteology. As I have already said that most of the terms in anatomy has come from either Latin or Greek. So very frequently new terminologies we will encounter. Try to find its origin as far as possible with the word meaning, so that will be helpful for you, because whenever that word you are getting in relationship to any structures, that word meaning you have learned at the very beginning will remain same throughout your all studies. Okay, so we are here in the study of the osteology. It is a Greek term, came from the word osteon, means bones, and logos anywhere, again a Greek term, means study. Sir Andrew Vesalius is known to be the father of osteology. It's a very important and very nice thing that you learn history of any subject and its contributor at the beginning of the study. One of my students has requested me, so definitely I will make a presentation regarding this, the history of anatomy, and that will be much more interesting to learn the subject. Okay. Now, to start with, here at birth, the total count of the bone in human body is approximately 270 to even 300 bones, because each of the long bones or other bones are divided in parts. They are not fused with one another. So it will appear as separate areas of bone masses. So the count goes on increasing. As we develop into adults, the count of the bones come down to 206 bones, of which some are distributed along the axis of our body, known as axial skeleton, having 80 bones altogether, and appendicular skeleton, that is lying in the extremities. As I've said, the upper extremity is the superior extremity or the upper limb, and the inferior extremity is the lower limb. The bones are present onto those limbs together in your whole body, count approximately 126. But the count in any individual, it is not a fixed one and a standard one, because at many regions of your body, there are some accessory bones. Where are they lying and what are their names, types, all will be explained to you gradually in subsequent classes. But depending on the number of the accessory bones, variable number of sesamoid bones, because of our work habit, friction develops inside the muscle tendons. Okay, so their number also varies person to person. Some Warmian bones present inside the skull sutures, and developmental non-fusion. The parts of the bones is not fused because of any reason. So these are the reasons which goes or contributes to increase the number of the bone inside an adult human from 206 to even more. And in standard recording, in one's lifetime, it has been recorded even more than 300. Now, before the study of the bones, as we have studied straightway to approach to gross anatomy, some part of the general anatomy and the associated facts you must have to know. We will cover each of the topic in any of our next presentations. But these are the prime thing that you have to learn while encountering for the study of the skeletal system. These are the basic general anatomy of bones and cartilages, classification of bone as per their shape, ossification, and distribution, structure and growth of bones, ossification and calcification mechanism, parts of growing long bone, microscopic anatomy of bones and cartilages, because you will see in your histology classes, joints and muscle attachments as per regions, as we will see in the dissection table while dissecting the cadavers. Some of the very important terms regarding the skeletal system are this chondro word, again came from the Greek word meaning chondros, which means cartilage. And blastos means germ or origin. That means those cells giving origin to the cartilage are the chondroblast. Same way, osteon or osteo is meaning to osteos, meaning to bone. Here, blast are giving origin to the bone cells. After mature cartilage cells are known as cyst. So chondroblast are the premature cells with an immense capability to proliferate in huge number, and these are the chondrocytes. The chondroblasts gradually get mature and will develop to chondrocytes, where the proliferating capacity decreases. Same in case of osteocyte too. And in bones, whenever there is bone fracture, we require remodeling of the bone, reunion of the fractured fragment along with the reshaping. And for that, the cell that is known as osteoclast is required. Each of the cells, their characteristic histology will be taught to you in separate classes of general anatomy. This is just for introduction because this term will come in our study. These are some of the different types of the cartilage. Cartilage are mainly formed of cells and some fibers along with some ground substances. Depending on that, these are the histological features of three types of cartilages: hyaline, fibro, and elastic cartilage. Details of their distribution, type, histological features will be taught to you in other class. And these are the some of the cells I have just named regarding bone. These are osteogenic progenitor cells from where all the cells can generate. This is an osteoblast, this is an osteoclast, and this is matured bone cells, that is osteocyte. Now, skeleton is again a Greek word coming from the word skeletos, meaning dried up. That means the bone that we handle for our studying. Everyone, you have to buy your bone sets for the first professional anatomy study, because until you are having your own bone set onto your hand, it is difficult for you to match the facts that the teacher will explain you in classes. Even you can make groups for study, but you should have the bone sets onto your hand. Okay, and that is dried up bone set that you see, and that is the skeleton. So the skeleton, as you know, is an internal framework of human or animal, formed of bones, cartilages, and to connect them, different binding tissues. And in dried up state, we will get the bones only. No cartilage, no binding agent. The skeleton is again divided as per distribution into an axial skeleton, consists of the bones which are distributed along the axis of the body, and the appendicular skeleton. They are lying in the extremities, that is the superior extremity or the upper limb and the inferior extremity. This is a rough picture. The blue one, you can see distributed, the bones are lying along the axis of your body. So these are the bones forming the axial skeleton. Here in the second picture, you are getting the bones lying onto the extremities, highlighted in pink. These are the appendicular skeleton. Total number of the axial skeleton bone is 80. You see, correlate, count, and match in your memory. So the cranial bones totally 8 in number, of which the blue one is parietal. Same we have onto the other side of the skull. Frontal is 1, temporal are 2, occipital is 1. And if you see one bone lying at the base of the skull, part of which is seen here in highlighted in pink, that is sphenoid bone. And one bone again lying at the floor from the anterior part, you will see, or some other presentation, is the ethmoid bone. So these are the 8 bones forming the cranial cavity, or inside which our brain lies. These are the total 14 facial bones, of which 2 are maxilla, highlighted in yellow. Connected to the maxilla, these are the 2 zygomatic bone. They are forming the malar prominence over your cheek. So zygoma, that prominence is named as zygoma. So from there, the name is zygomatic. We are getting single bone that is forming the lower jaw is the mandible. Then the 2 nasal bone here highlighted in pink. 2 palatine bone mainly seen from the backside, part of which processes you can see from anterior part via the nasal cavity. Much more good view from the inferior surface of the base of the skull. Then inferior nasal concha, these are the bone highlighted in light green, lying inside the nasal cavity onto its lateral wall. 2 lacrimal bones, here you can see, and vomer, one of the bone from the posterior part of the nasal septum contributing to its formation, articulating to the surrounding bone, is highlighted in blue, is the plate of the vomer, you will see it. Now coming on to the single bone that you cannot see in the skeleton, as because it is lying in the soft tissue of the neck. Onto the neck region, there is only the bones lying at the back, which are the cervical vertebrae. And there is huge attachment of muscles onto the anterior part. To give attachment to those muscles, having anchorage to upper part of the windpipe or the sound box known as the larynx, to give support connection to it and to the surrounding other tissues, there is a bone, U-shaped bone, is known as the hyoid, is single in number. We add on the 3 ear ossicles lying inside each of the ear, rather in the middle ear cavity. This is the part of the external ear. This is the middle ear cavity, and this is the internal ear. Starting from the lateral one, this is the malleus, incus, the medial most is the stapes. So 3 plus 3, total 6 in 2 years. Onto the vertebral column, the total number of bone is actually 33, of which we divide 7 for the cervical region, 12 for the thoracic region or the chest region to form the rib cage, or here are the lumbar vertebrae, 5 in number, and then the sacral vertebrae, again 5 in number, coccyx 4 in number, of which in adult life, these 5 sacral vertebrae fuse to form 1, these 4 coccyx fuse to form 1. So the total count come down to 26. And some more bones lying in the axial skeleton forming the rib cage. These are the 12 pair of ribs, 1 sternum from front, to be 80. Now, coming to the bone distribution along with their name to the superior extremity. Superior extremity is the upper extremity as it is placed superiorly, so it is superior extremity. In layman term, we used to say our whole of the upper extremity to be arm, right? But here, when you are studying anatomy, this term get it very specific. We used to say the whole of the superior extremity to be arm. Some person used to say as hand, but in anatomy, there is clear demarcation of the zone, what we will call as arm or hand. Okay. So the superior extremity is connected to the central skeleton or the axial skeleton via the pectoral girdle formed of 2 bones. One is clavicle here and one is shoulder blade, that is known as the scapula at the back, to which it forms the shoulder joint. So in the superior extremity proper, we are getting the zone starting from the shoulder to the elbow joint. This is the arm. This is the arm. In anatomy, we will say only the region of the superior extremity starting from the shoulder joint to the elbow joint to be the arm, not the whole of the superior extremity. Now starting from the elbow joint onto the wrist joint is the forearm. It is 4 means before. It's coming before the arm, so it is forearm. In Latin, there is a terminology for this areas known as the brachium, brachium meaning to the arm. That is this part. And before the arm is coming the antebrachium, antebrachium. Overlapping, because of overlapping, the aim appears to be R, but it is brachium. Okay. And there the wrist region is known as the carpus, known as the carpus. Again, it's a Latin term. And the hand region, that is from the wrist onward, including all the phalanges. And this is the palm region. This part is the hand. So whole of the superior extremity is not hand. Whole of the superior extremity is not arm. The zone from shoulder to elbow is arm. Elbow to wrist is forearm or brachium and antebrachium. Then coming on to the wrist, that is the carpal region or the carpus, and then the hand proper or the manus. All these terms, brachium, antebrachium, carpus, and manus, they are Latin in origin. And must remember, we are saying of this word carpal, that meaning to the structures lying in the region of the wrist or carpus. Okay, your mind should strike it. And in the superior extremity, we are getting the bones that is known as pectoral girdle, total 4, 2 from either side. One is clavicle and one is the scapula. In the next, lying in the arm, single bone, that is the humerus. Lying in the forearm or antebrachium, two bones. The lateral one is the radius and the medial one is the ulna. Then coming on to here in the region of the wrist, wrist are mainly the radiocarpal joints. These are the carpal bones because they are lying in the region of the carpus. Okay, and these are 8 very small bones. Then coming on to these short, long bones lying in the region of the palm, and these are adjacent to the carpal. So they are metacarpals. They are metacarpals. They are 5 in number. Their count starts from the lateral side in the region of the thumb. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth metacarpals. Then connected to the metacarpals are the digits. Connected to the metacarpals are the digits. These are known as phalanges, and each of the phalanges having 3 bones. You know what is proximal and distal. So this is the proximal phalanx, this is the middle phalanx, and this is the distal phalanx. Must remember, here is one exception. In case of thumb, there are 2 phalanges. So one proximal and one distal only. No middle phalanx. Remember it? Then coming on to the inferior extremity, again the zone of the inferior extremity is divided into gluteal region, thigh, knee, leg, ankle, and foot. So in layman terms, what we used to say whole of the inferior extremity to be leg is not correct here in anatomy. Seeing from the back, from the region of the iliac crest onto the gluteal fold is the region known as the gluteal region, known as the gluteal region. Now from the region of the hip joint onto the knee is the thigh. Then from the knee to the ankle is the leg. Not the whole of the inferior extremity is leg. We say as in anatomy. Okay. So when we will say of any structure lying in leg, you have to know that structure is lying anywhere between the knee and the ankle in inferior extremity. Understood? And there we do have another joint here, that is the ankle joint. And after it, that is the foot. So these are the parts of the inferior extremity. And the bones lying are, again, to connect the inferior extremity proper with the axial skeleton, we do have 2 bones. These are known as the hip bones or coxal bone. Coxal meaning to hip. These are known again as innominate bone. Why? I will explain it whilst making you understood about the hip bone. Because hip bone individually is made up of 3 different bones. They unite to form 1 bone in adult. Okay. So we will count it in adult as 1 from either side. So total number is 2, not 3 and 3, 6 in adult. But 3 and 3, 6 are the count in case of those where it has not fused. And that will again increase the number from 206 to. Then coming on to the inferior extremity, you do have bone that is 2 femur. These are the thigh bones, single, like same single. Always read the inferior extremity in comparison with the superior extremity. The corresponding zone of the superior extremity, that is known as arm, the same zone in case of inferior extremity is the thigh. They are developmentally same. They are almost structurally also same. Okay, rotation wise a little bit different. That way I will explain. But structurally they are same. So the superior extremity, the arm having the humerus, and the inferior extremity, the thigh having the femur. About the femur, it is the longest bone of your body. Then coming on to after hip joint and knee joint, between these 2 is the thigh. There is the knee joint, and after knee joint, you are getting the leg. From the knee to the ankle. This is the leg, having 2 bones like that of your antebrachium. In the leg, you are getting again 2 bones. The lateral one is the fibula. The medial one is the tibia. And here it is the ankle joint, beyond which it is the foot. And the foot has almost same articulation of that of your hand, because these 2 are the extremities similar, almost similar or comparable in structure. So you do have, in case of inferior extremity, the small bones in the region beyond ankle. Inside the foot is the tarsal bones. The tarsal bone here are numbered 7 in number, not 8 that of in the carpal region. The carpals are 8 in number and the tarsals are 7 in number. How the 8 is becoming 7, I will clear when I will just say about the skeleton of the foot in details in your consequent studies. Okay, why the number is lower here. Then you do have as there was the metacarpals, right? The bone adjacent to the carpals was the metacarpal. Here the bone adjacent to the tarsal are the metatarsals. Here, starting from the medial side in the great toe, you have the first metatarsal, then second, third, fourth, and fifth. Thereafter, like that same or the similar configuration of your superior extremity, you have 3 phalanges in each of the toes, only one exception, that is in the great toe having 2 phalanges. Okay, and named the same way, proximal, middle, and distal in the other toes, and proximal and distal in the great toe. So these are in gist about the name of the bones lying onto your axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. This is almost, most of the part is revision of your previous study. Okay, and in the next class, before starting to the study of your individual bone in particular, we will have another class of classification and distribution of bones and cartilages in different areas of our body. Okay, so up till this, thank you, dear students. We will continue in the next class with the classification of the bones, classification and distribution, and read it beforehand. Just a recapitulation, so it will take very less time. Recap your thing and the specific anatomic fact, the specific anatomical names of the areas of the structures of the bones that you have to remember. Or while studying the individual bone in the regions, I will say the name only, the name of the bone and its medial, lateral, superior, inferior, like that. Okay, I will not repeatedly say that what is superior, what is medial, what is inferior, where the femur lies, like that. Okay, so revise your current study. Revise your current study and the previous one before you study to the next one. Okay, good luck.